April 24th, 2012, we got the first season of Telltale's The Walking Dead, an episodic format video game published and developed by Telltale Games. It was the first season in a series of 4 that followed Lee Everett and then later on Clementine, a young girl that was orphaned by the zombie apocalypse. All 4 seasons are fantastic, but in my opinion, Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1 is the best season. It followed Lee Everett, a teacher turned criminal, after he killed a man in a fight because the man was having an affair with Lee's wife. But you can see that Lee is not a bad dude. He regrets what he did and he wishes he could take it back, but you can't change the past. But on his way to prison, Lee's fate is changed because of the zombie apocalypse, and he has a chance to redeem himself by looking after a young girl named Clementine.
You've been all by yourself through this?
Yeah, I want my parents to come home now.
I think that might be a little while, you know?
Oh.
Look, I don't know what happened, but I'll look after you until then.
And with that, that's where their journey begins, and Lee does everything in his power to make sure that Clementine stays safe. Throughout the story, you'll meet several characters, such as the comic version of Herschel Green and his family. You'll meet Kenny and his family, the drugstore survivors, and the cancer survivors, along with a few other lone survivors. I've talked about how good the story is, but I haven't actually talked about the story itself, so without further ado, we're going to move on into that. Episode 1 begins with, as I said earlier, Lee in the back of a police car for killing a state senator who was having an affair with Lee's wife. If you pay attention to the background details, you can actually see the beginning of the fall of Atlanta, which is quite cool if you know the story, but it's not all that important to Season 1 as it doesn't take place in Atlanta. Everything is fine until the officer hits a walker in the middle of the highway, causing him to swerve, crash off of the highway through the guardrail and down into the forest below. Lee was knocked unconscious from the car crash, but he wakes up, makes his way out of the car and over to the officer, only to see that the officer is not in such great shape anymore.
Officer? Holy shit! What in the hell? What the fuck are you? What happened? What happened?
With the officer obviously no longer normal, Lee is forced to put him down, making the officer Lee's first walker kill of the whole series. A little while later, Lee meets Clementine, and this is where the game really kicks off. After helping Sean move a car, Sean lets Lee, Clementine, and Sean's friend Chet come back to Sean's family farm, which is the Green family farm from both the comics and the TV show. Lee and Clementine arrive at the farm at night, so the first thing Lee sees in the morning is Kenny, the boat god, and his fabulous mustache. Kenny introduces Lee and Clementine to his wife Katja and his son Duck, but then Sean comes in and says that they have some work they have to do, which is fortifying the fence around the farm, so Lee goes off to go help Sean with the fence. Lee is helping Sean with the fence for a bit, but after a little while, Lee asks if there's anything else that needs to be taken care of, and Sean says to go find Herschel, his dad, and see if Herschel needs help with anything. So that's exactly what Lee does. Lee and Herschel talk for a bit, but Herschel begins to accuse Lee of lying, but before they're able to get into an argument about anything, they hear a scream, and Lee runs out to see that Duck managed to turn on the tractor that he was sitting on and roll over Sean's foot while Sean was working on the fence. And this is where you have to make your first big choice of the game. Do you save Sean or do you save Duck? Because the screaming has alerted walkers and now they both need help. But it doesn't matter your choice, because whether you try to help Sean or if you save Duck, Sean ends up dead and bitten, causing Herschel to kick Kenny and his family and Lee and Clementine off the farm.
Get out.
Get the fuck out of here!
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
Your son is alive.
You don't get to be sorry. You tried to help him, but this piece of shit let him die.
You can't blame Kenny.
The hell I can't. You watch your back. Wait until it's your daughter and you need his help. Please. Just go. Get out and never come back.
And with that, our group takes off and they go to downtown Macon and they run out of gas right in front of Everett's Prescriptions, Lee Everett's family's drugstore. The group gets attacked by a small horde of walkers, but is rescued by some people that run out of the drugstore. Once everyone is inside, an argument breaks out between the leader of the group and the woman that saved us. The argument then grows bigger and shifts off of that the group shouldn't have went outside and saved Lee and his people. It then becomes an argument between Lily's dad Larry and Kenny, because Larry believes that Duck is bitten and he ends up having a heart attack over it because he has heart problems and his anger issues don't help with that very much.
We almost died because of this bitch and Richie Triggerfinger. That was stupid. That was...
Dad!
What's wrong with him?
It's his heart.
My pills.
Nitroglycerin pills?
Yes, we're out. We've been trying to get into the pharmacy since we got here. Please try to get in there, behind the counter where the pills are.
And with that, the group decides to band together and get Larry the pills for his heart so that he's okay. And then there's a bit of a roll call where everybody says their names so you learn who everybody is.
You. What's your name?
It's Lily. My dad's Larry.
Keep a good eye on him. These boys will work on getting you your medicine.
That's right.
And you keep an eye on that front door. You're our lookout.
It's Doug. You got it.
And I'm Carly.
Okay, Carly, you'll shift in with Doug when he needs it. For now, get some rest. You're a good shot, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Glenn, yes, that Glenn, is also here, but he runs off to go get gas before everybody says their name. A little while later, Glenn gets stuck at a motel because he gets trapped by some walkers, so Lee and Carly go out to go rescue him.
Be ready to shoot.
Guys. Oh, man. I'm glad you're here.
Jesus, Glenn.
With Glenn saved, Carly just wants to get out of the motel before they get noticed, but Glenn says that there's a girl trapped upstairs and they have to help her. So after they kill some walkers, they make their way upstairs to the girl.
Rad.
The girl on the other side of the door just wants to be left alone, but Lee doesn't see that as an option, so he just starts hacking down her door until she comes out.
Stop! I'm coming out.
You're hurt.
Oh, God.
I said stay away.
We need to get you help.
It's too late for that.
Guys, she's been bitten.
What?
I told you, I said go away! I'm bit! But you wouldn't just leave.
With the group's realization that the girl is bitten, she only wants one thing, and that's to end her own life. After noticing that Carly has a gun, she asks if she can borrow it for a minute, and the group knows what this means. Lee pleads with her to just come with them, and they'll get her some help, but it ends up being the only option. So Lee stays behind, because someone has to stay behind to pick up the gun.
I'm here with you.
You're a good man.
The group arrives back at the drugstore, and their last order of business is to get the keys off of the body of Lee's brother across the street. So after a final goodbye, Lee grabs the keys and they go inside the pharmacy to get Larry his pills.
Willing you to take care of him. That helped.
With one hard swing to his head, Lee puts his brother to rest, grabs the keys, and they go inside to grab the pills from the pharmacy. Everything goes fine for about 4 seconds until the alarm goes off and every zombie in the area is now coming down on this pharmacy. And the group knows it is time to get out.
I'm gonna get the truck pulled up round back!
Do it fast. I gotta get my dad out of here.
I don't plan on dilly-dallying. Honey, take Duck into the office and barricade the living hell out of the door behind me. Glenn, when you hear me honking in the alley, start getting people out of here. You got it. Doug, Carly, and Lee, you guys make sure our defenses stay up till then. And Lee, I better take that axe in case I run into any of them on the way to my truck.
Here you go.
Guys, that door's not locked anymore.
Lee, Carly, and Doug are holding the main door until walkers start to get in, so Doug and Carly go off to make sure that the walkers don't break through, but now Doug needs help and Carly's out of ammo, so Lee has to make his second really hard choice of the game. Who do you save and who do you let die?
God.
With that, everybody's on their way out, and right as Lee's about to leave, he gets punched in the face by Larry in hopes that he will get left behind and killed, but Kenny, being a bro, comes in and saves Lee in the nick of time.
I'm not letting somebody else get eaten today.
Especially a good friend.
And that about wraps it up for the first episode of Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1, A New Day. Glenn leaves because he hears reports that it's only getting worse in the city, and that's where you'll meet him in the comics, where he will eventually end up saving
Ricky Dicky Doo-Dog Rhymes.
So, with Glenn gone, Lee checks in with the other adults, and after a small confrontation with Larry, Lee, Kenny, and Lily all go to the front, seeming that everything is going to be okay up until the lights go out.
We got beds, we got water, and most importantly, we got light. There are worse places to call home.
Yeah, you're right. You know, guys, I think it's going to be okay.
Episode 2 picks up 3 months later after Episode 1, except now Kenny, Lee, and a new guy named Mark are out hunting because the food is starting to dwindle, so they now need to go out hunting to go get food. Everything seems fine until they hear a scream, so that's when Lee and Mark go off running to make sure that Kenny is okay. The screaming wasn't actually even Kenny, so Kenny comes over to make sure that Lee and Mark are okay, but that's when they see the person that was screaming. It's a teacher whose leg got stuck in a bear trap. The only problem is this bear trap no longer has a release latch, so there's no easy way to get his foot out of the trap. So Lee then realizes that the only way that he's getting the teacher out so that they're not overwhelmed by walkers from his screaming is by cutting the teacher's leg off. So then he's now stuck with this tough decision, but that's the only way to make sure that they don't get overrun by walkers. With the teacher being cut free, the four of them, that being Lee, Kenny, Mark, and the high schooler Ben, they all run back to the motel so that they can try to get the teacher some medical attention before it's too late. Katja attends to the teacher while Lily then calls over Lee and says that it's now his job to try to feed everybody today. He only has 4 food items for 10 hungry people, so he's going to have to make some hard choices. Lee gives the couple people that he can food, that being the kids, Kenny, and for some reason I fed Larry in this playthrough, I don't know why, but afterwards Lee is talking to Katja and something happens that shakes the whole group. For some reason, even though the teacher that definitely wasn't bitten comes back as a walker and tries to attack Katja. This is going to cause a whole upstir until Ben tells everybody this.
What? Wait, you all don't know? What the hell are you talking about? It's not the bite that does it. You come back no matter how you die. If you don't destroy the brain, that's just what happens. It's gonna happen to all of us.
It's interesting that they have Ben, the newest member of the group, tell the group something this heavy. The fact that it doesn't matter how you die, just as long as you die and your head is intact, that you're coming back as a walker. This moment is broken up though when Carly starts yelling,
Back off!
Whoa, lady, relax. Me and my brother, we just want to know if y'all can help us out.
I said back off! Carly.
Are you armed?
Yeah. for protection. Dead could be anywhere.
But, I think you got the upper hand here.
Andy St. John, the man wearing black, says that if our group is willing to lower our weapons, that they can maybe work up some kind of trade. If our group can give them some gas, they'll give us some food, which is something that our group desperately needs right now. So the group decides to go over to the dairy farm and check it out to make sure it's legit, and then they'll make a full-on trade later on.
Here it is. St. John Family Dairy.
The group arrives at the dairy and they are just absolutely floored because it looks so untouched. You wouldn't even be able to tell that the world is in ruins if you were on the farm the whole time. The group meets the final St. John member, Brenda St. John, Andy and Danny's mom, who also gives them biscuits as like a sign of good faith.
These are for y'all. Baked fresh this morning.
Amazing.
Can't get stuff like that anymore. Not without a cow for milk and butter, that's for sure.
That's right. Hopefully Maybelle will make it through this bout of whatever she's got and be with us for a good long while.
Your cow is sick? What's she?
We have a vet. We could bring her here. We can help you folks out.
Mark mentions to Brenda that we have a vet in our group, so Ben and Carly go off to the motel to get the rest of the group while Lee and Mark stay and help with anything on the farm.
Mark, Lee, why don't you take a look around? Once you get settled in, I could use some help securing the perimeter.
Is there a problem?
Sometimes the dead get tangled up in the fence before they fry and end up knocking over a post. It'd be a big help if you could walk the perimeter. You can learn a little something about our fence. I'm gonna go top off the generators before they run dry. Come get me when you're ready.
You bet.
And with that, Mark and Lee go out and they go secure the perimeter and clear any walker corpses off of the fence. Clearing the fence is going well until...
Holy fuck! What just happened?
The fences are on.
And after this, it only gets worse from here. Mark gets shot with an arrow. Lee and Mark are being attacked by raiders from the forest. They have to seek cover behind a tractor to make their way back to the farm so Mark can be attended to. And a couple of the walkers they knocked off the fence are awake again somehow, even though they were fried, and they're chasing after them. Lee and Mark make it back to the farm, thankfully mostly unharmed besides, the arrow in Mark's shoulder. And Andy and Danny are immediately upset about this because this does not stand. Apparently they had a deal with the bandits that as long as they give them food, the bandits won't hurt them because it'll be some sort of protection, I say in quotations. So Danny immediately says as soon as Lee's ready, they're going to go scope out a nearby bandit camp that Danny knows of.
Listen, we may have had an agreement with those people, but we will not stand for this shit.
Ain't no way we're gonna let those sons of bitches get away with this.
You know where these assholes are?
They're hard to pin down, but I think I know where at least one of their camps are. When you're ready to go scope out that bandit camp, come find us.
And with that, Lee and Danny are off to go check out the nearby bandit camp. It seems to be relatively empty with nothing of note until Lee opens up a tent and finds Clem's missing hat. And then, out of nowhere, Lee and Danny are ambushed.
The hell?
Don't fucking move.
Shit!
Put your guns down. I ain't going back. You tell him Jolene ain't going back.
Hey, we had a deal. No shooting as long as we gave you food. What the fuck happened?
Lee tries to de-escalate the situation, but it's just not working, so Danny puts her down.
Put down the crossbow.
No, sir, I need it. I need it to kill you fuckers. Go on, tell him, boy. Tell him what you got in mind for...
God damn it!
After the incident out in the camp with Danny, both of them make it back to the farm, and Lee goes into the barn to go check on Clementine, who then gives us this absolute gem of a line.
What's this thing?
Daddy said it's called a salt lick. Yeah, but don't lick it. It's gross.
Did you lick it?
I don't know.
Lee gives Clem her missing hat back, and then he goes and checks on Kenny in the back of the barn.
My hat! You found it! I knew you'd find it. You said you would.
Lee then goes in the back of the barn to go check out what Kenny's looking at, which is a very mysterious lock that the St. Johns don't want anyone going near. And then Kenny gives us this other gem of a line while having a bit of a Florida Man moment.
Hey, Lee, you know how to pick a lock, right?
No. Why would you say that?
Well, you're, you know, urban?
Oh, you are not saying what I think you're saying.
Jesus, man, I'm from Florida. Crazy shit just comes out of my mouth sometimes. Sorry.
Lee and Kenny decide the best option is to take the screws off the door, have a little peek, and then patch it back up and make it look like nothing ever happened. So Lee does exactly that. He goes outside, he grabs a multi-tool, and then he comes back inside and unscrews the locks so you can see what everything behind the barn is about until he gets caught by Andy.
Boy, didn't you hear the bell? Dinner time.
What the hell you got in that back room?
Look, we have food here, but Danny and I still gotta do a lot of hunting to keep everyone fed. When we catch something in the woods, we skin it and dress it back there. Mama doesn't like us to make a mess in the house, so you see, nothing to worry about.
And that's the scary thing about the St. Johns. If you know the game, or if you don't, you'll find out very, very soon what's really in that back room. But Andy right now is able to perfectly explain it all away, with it making perfect sense. Lee is invited inside to eat dinner, but he has to wash his hands first. So he goes upstairs, snooping around, and he finds this.
To your legs, man.
Don't eat dinner.
Yep, the St. Johns are cannibals. So Lee runs downstairs to make sure that nobody eats, and thankfully he makes it there in time.
Don't eat that!
Huh? Lee, Jesus, man. Did you find something?
Oh, sit your ass down, Lee. This lady has made you a meal.
Yeah, Lee, what's gotten into you?
Lee then explains the situation to everyone.
You're eating human meat!
That's crazy.
What the hell?
Ridiculous.
You're scaring the kids, Lee.
Lee, what the hell is wrong with you?
Don't indulge him, Lily. There's always something with this guy.
Mom, I was eating that.
What is going on?
We need to get the kids and everyone out of here. We need to go now.
The St. Johns then come clean about everything.
He would have died anyway. We gotta think about living.
Settle down, honey. Growing up in rural Georgia, you're taught not to waste. It's how I was raised and how I raised my boys.
Mark then arrives fashionably late to dinner. Lee is then knocked out and wakes up in a meat locker.
Open this door, God damn it! I will knock the goddamn
Dad,
door
stop.
down!
Larry ends up having a heart attack, and then this is when things go to hell. Lee is forced to make one of the biggest choices he's going to make throughout the whole game.
Oh, God.
Dad? Me.
Fuck. If he's dead...
He's not dead!
You know what has to happen, Lee. Think about it. You saw that poor bastard at the motel? How fast he turned?
What are you saying?
Lily, I'm sorry. I truly, truly am. But in a few minutes, we're gonna be stuck in a locked room with a 6'4", 300-pound, seriously pissed off dead guy. Come on, Lee, I'm right about this. I know you've got my back. You always do.
God damn it, Lee, I need you! Please help me!
Lee makes his quick decision, which is siding with Kenny in this case, where they have to hold Lily back while Kenny grabs a salt lick and smashes Larry's head in. The death of Larry is very heartbreaking and very graphic, but heartbreaking because of Nikki Rapp's performance as Lily, but Kenny does the deed and Larry is dead. Telltale's choice to keep Larry's bottom jaw still very visible is a smart choice on their part because it makes it a lot harder to dehumanize Larry, and it makes it seem like Kenny just killed a man that could have survived. Lee lifts Clementine up into a nearby air vent where she then drops down from the other side and unlocks the door so that everybody can get out.
Are you okay? Did anyone see you?
No, but there's a man outside.
Lee and Kenny then hide in the stables and then wait so that they can sneak attack and get the drop on Danny.
Where's my family, asshole? You can't have them. We need the vet.
No!
Can't! Lee, come on!
Just go. I won't be far behind.
Lee kills Danny St. John and then he goes inside to help Kenny save his family. But Brenda St. John has Katja as a hostage right now, so Lee has to try his best to talk her down until he gets some help from a friend beyond the grave.
They took Doug! Where's Kenny?
I said don't move, asshole!
With Katja safe, it is time to go finally help Kenny, who is dealing with Andy because Andy has a gun to the back of Duck's head, and Kenny's not going to let that slide. After Kenny gets shot, a fight ends up breaking out between Andy and Lee, with Lee ending up victorious and then finally being able to leave this hellhole of a farm.
It's over! Fuck you! As soon as Dad and Mama get out here, you're all fucked! They're not coming. What do you mean? Lee? What the fuck do you mean? Don't you dare walk away from me, Lee!
And with that, they leave the farm, and they just keep walking until they find a sedan out in the woods.
This food could save all of us.
Not all of us.
Look, we don't know if these people are dead.
If they come back, then we're just monsters who came out of the woods and ruined their lives.
This stuff isn't ours. Dad, whose car is it?
Some of the group members, especially Lily and the kids, want to know if the car is truly abandoned, but Kenny and Katja and Lee all come to the consensus that it is abandoned and that they need the food and the supplies right now to keep on surviving. So they end up taking the supplies and they go back to the motel.
We have to take this, Clementine. We need it to survive.
Little side thing right before I get back into the story, this is one of my personal favorite moments because as both the player and Lee, we're trying to teach Clementine right from wrong, and this is one of those moments where morally it's not okay to take this food and these supplies as it's somebody else's and they could be coming back to their car any minute now. But in the moment, the group does need these supplies or they will not make it through the winter, and that was the whole point of this episode, is they didn't have food, and the one place they thought they could get some food, they turned out to be cannibals. So now the group has to make this decision. Do we take this food and go on surviving like peacefully, or do we not take the food and we have to suffer through the winter and where they could possibly die? So I think that it is okay to justify the fact of taking this food because the group needs it to survive, because without it they're not going to. Episode 3 begins with Lee and Kenny back in Macon on one last supply run through Lee's family's drugstore. Lee and Kenny are talking about what they're going to do soon because the motel has most definitely ran its course, it's no longer safe, and they need to come up with a plan because they can't stay there for the winter. Lee and Kenny are about to go inside, but as soon as they're getting ready to do that, this girl comes out of nowhere screaming and luring all of the walkers in the area to her position. She's already bitten, and Kenny comes up with a plan that is admittedly quite dark, but makes sense and helps Lee and Kenny get away safely. She's already bitten, and she has all these walkers coming down on her, and Kenny thinks if they just leave her, she's going to attract all the walkers while they can go inside the drugstore and grab the last remaining loot in there and get out safely. So that's what they do. They leave the girl and they go inside and don't have to worry about the walkers. Lee and Kenny loot everything in the drugstore till there's nothing left, and then they make their way back to the motel.
You're back. Ben found some stickers in a drawer, and I put them on my walkie.
Hey, Sweet Pea. That's neat. I'll find you in a minute.
Another little thing. Hoodie Clem is best Clem. This is not up for discussion. This is a fact. Lee and Kenny return the supplies to Lily, and then shortly after, she has an absolute meltdown.
It's not going to be easier out on the road!
How would you know?
What I know? I know you're not above murder. I know somebody has been stealing our supplies. That's right, stealing! And I know the list of people I can trust here gets smaller every day! Now everybody get out!
Lee talks with Carly, and Carly says it's probably best if Lee clears up his past with anybody that he trusts, because with Lily being so erratic right now, if she's the one to say something about Lee's past, that is going to cause a huge problem, and it would be much better if Lee is just the one to tell people. And that's exactly what Lee does, because if he doesn't get this cleared up, that's gonna be bad.
Kenny, you got a second? I need to tell you something.
Sure, pal. What you got?
It's serious.
Oh, no. What'd the she-devil do to you?
Shut up, man. I killed someone. Different than Larry or the St. John's. Different from everything. This was before the walkers. I know. I didn't say anything when I met you because I was with the girl and, you know, I was worried.
I just smashed a guy's head in with a 50-pound block of salt. You saw me do that, right?
Yeah, I did.
And you're talking about who we were? The fuck does that matter? It's everything this mess has got us doing now, Lee. Shit. Look, is Duck safe around you?
Of course.
Then shut it. You don't owe anybody any kind of explanation.
Kenny, being an absolute Chad, understands Lee's situation and appreciates his honesty. Lee also tells Clementine, but he sugarcoats it a bit because she's a kid.
Clem, I need to talk to you for a second.
Okie dokie.
The day you and I met, I was in a car accident.
I remember. Your leg was bleeding.
The car I was in was a police car, and I was on my way to jail for committing a crime. I need to tell you now, because I don't want you to hear it any other way.
Okay.
Do you have anything to say?
I don't think so.
You can go on back to your things.
Lee goes to check up with Lily about the stolen supplies she mentioned during her rant, and that's when Lily pretty much tells Lee to start a witch hunt and figure out who's been stealing, and she also says that if she can't find anybody, she's just going to assume it's Lee. So Lee makes sure that doesn't happen, and with the help of Duck, of all people, he's able to find the stolen supplies through a certain set of clues.
A mystery.
Jesus, Duck.
I'm sorry. I heard you guys talking.
You need to unhear all of that.
Can I help?
What did I just say?
You're the Grace Detective, and I can be Dick Grayson, your ward. That's Robin.
I know who it is.
Lee reluctantly agrees to let Duck become a detective and help him try to find where the missing supplies went. And Duck, being a pretty good detective, actually finds some pink chalk, an X, and a scuff mark leading outside the motel, right to a grate where the bag of missing supplies are. Lee returns the bag of stolen supplies back to Lily, and just as they're about to start talking about who could have taken it, they get interrupted.
You don't fucking steal from us!
Who the fuck is that?
Y'all
Got
better
our
get
people
your
out
asses
there.
out here! We ain't fucking around!
What do we do?
Oh,
Lily.
shit! They're gonna start kicking indoors any second.
Lily, what the hell are you?
Stall him.
What?
Just keep him talking. Do whatever it takes to stop him pulling the trigger.
So, Lee goes out there to stall them because that's all he can do right now, and just as they start to make some demands, Lily scores a nice
headshot.
And the minute that bandit's gun dropped, Carly picked up the gun and she gunned down 2 of them and tried to get the last guy before he alerted it, but was unsuccessful. And now just an absolute onslaught of bandits just comes running out of the forest, and the group knows they have no choice but to defend the motel one last time before getting the hell out of here. And then Lee and Lily, but mostly Lee, because I'm out here doing all of the hard work, they take out all the bandits and then everybody piles in the RV and they get the hell away from the motel. Everybody is extremely shaken up because Katja's bleeding from her head. She's holding on to Duck to make sure he's okay. Kenny's trying to drive, and Lily's back there just absolutely interrogating and grilling everybody, trying to see who caused this. Which, I mean, I guess to some degree she has that right because she is the leader, but she's being overly confrontational and just like mean towards a couple of the members back there. But all this arguing in the back reaches a boiling point when Kenny hits a walker on the road, so everybody goes outside, and then a even bigger argument breaks out between Lily and Carly.
Shit! What's going on up there?
I hit something. We gotta stop.
Alright, well, we can deal with this now then.
Kenny, is it safe?
Should be.
Everybody out.
So Lily thinks that Ben is the one slipping the bandits these supplies, but Carly doesn't believe that, so she sticks up for Ben, and this whole huge argument breaks
You
out.
think you're some tough bitch, don't you? Like nothing can hurt you. But you're just a scared little girl. Get the fuck over it. Take a page from Lee's book and try helping somebody for once.
Now, what the fuck's the problem?
And then Lily just guns down Carly without a second thought, and Lee doesn't let that slide one bit.
Drop it.
Holy fuck.
Kenny, what's happening?
Get Duck away from the windows. Jesus Christ. Get in. We're leaving this crazy bitch.
She couldn't be trusted, Lee. I swear. Please.
You're not coming with us.
I'll die out here.
I don't care.
Kenny calls Lily a murderer, and Lily immediately turns around and tries to call Lee a murderer, but because the group, and more importantly Kenny, already knows, Kenny doesn't care.
You're a murderer, Lily. We can't have you with us.
I'm a murderer? You've had Lee with you this whole time.
I don't care what he did before.
You know?
Yeah, he told me. I don't give a shit. If we keep you with us, how long until you get me?
I was trying to protect all of us. I don't have anything left.
Get in, Lee. Let's go, you guys.
And just like that, the group leaves Lily on the side of the road to fend for herself. And then Lee is called up to the front of the RV, and then this is where tragedy strikes.
What's up? Is Duck feeling all right? What the fuck?
Happened during the raid.
What's the plan? We've never had a bite victim in the group before.
I'm going to keep an eye on him and see what I can do from a medical perspective.
We keep the same plan unless something changes. East.
Guys.
What else is there to do? We thought you should know.
Important to stay honest with each other.
Anyway, if you could tell Clementine, we would appreciate it.
And then Lee has to tell Clementine her only friend, Duck, is bitten and is going to die soon. And she asks how it happened, Lee explains how, and then she asks about Carly and if Carly's ever going to get a proper burial, and Lee has to tell her no. Something this game always excels at, and all 4 seasons do, is that the minute something goes down, it immediately slows down and lets you just reflect on what happens.
I'm glad I have you.
Me too. I heard you outside my treehouse that day and thought about dropping a hammer on your head.
What? Why?
In case you were up to no good. Before you, there was this other guy. He was yelling and trying to get into my house. He wanted to take the TV and tried to break the glass door with a rock. Then some walkers came and scared him away.
The door was open.
He was dumb.
And then after this really nice moment, we get the scariest f***ing jump scare ever. Like, seriously, this was so goddamn scary. On my very first playthrough, I definitely for a second thought Clem was infected somehow, but then Lee wakes up and realizes that it's just a nightmare. Lee, now knowing that Clementine is in fact not infected and not a walker and is perfectly fine, when Kenny says they have something up ahead, they all go outside to go check it out, and it turns out to be a giant train blocking the road. After Ben presses the ignition and the train just immediately fires up, the group then decides that this is going to be their way out. They're going to take this train all the way down to Savannah.
Here, look. It's just the brakes.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
This fucker works?
Seems like it.
I'll be damned. How the hell do we get it moving?
I don't know. That's Mr. Amtrak over here.
No clue. Well, let's look around. Maybe it goes somewhere we'd like to be.
Lee finds instructions on how to start the train, but unfortunately the paper's missing. But whoever wrote down the instructions wrote very hard, and it left an imprint on the piece of paper behind it. So Lee's able to just run a pencil across it and see the instructions that he can then use to start the train. Lee pulls a couple levers, he flips some switches, and he pushes a couple buttons, and he's able to get this train started. Lee goes to go pull the throttle to start up the train, but the damn thing doesn't move because they're still attached. So Lee has to go figure out where they're attached and unhook them. Lee unhooks the train so that they're free to move, and then gets the crap scared out of him by this cool old dude named Chuck, or Charles if you're fancy.
Name's Chuck. Charles if you're fancy.
Lee.
But Chuck doesn't mean the group any harm. In fact, he actually gave them some candy, and after that, they just get moving because the train's all set up now. Everybody gets ready to get on the train, but there's one thing the group can no longer deny, and that is the fact that Duck is getting sicker and his health is worsening. But for the time being, he's okay, so they get on the train until it gets too bad to ignore.
Lee! Lee, I need you right now. I need you to go get Ken.
What's up?
Would you get that off his face? My hands are full here.
Duck eventually starts coughing up blood, and that's when Katja asks if Lee can go get Kenny because they have to deal with this now.
He's out of time. We need to stop this train.
Okay.
Lee goes to go get Kenny to tell him what's going on, but Kenny already knows what's happening, but he's in complete denial that this could be happening to his son. But he thinks that he deserves this because he technically got Herschel's son Sean killed, and he blames himself for this. But Lee is able to calm him down and make sure that he sees clearly and doesn't devolve into a big fight, and gets him to stop the train.
You think you're the reason Duck was bitten? Like you had this coming or something? You didn't kill Herschel's son.
Yes, I did. And now it's catching up to me.
That's not what went down. You looked out for your kid. And a bad thing happened to someone else's.
There ain't no way this world lets my son live when I help put someone else's in the ground.
That's not the way it works. You know that. Stop the train, man.
Lee gets Kenny to stop the train because now they have to deal with Duck.
Ken, I think it's time.
Kenny and Katja have to make the decision of who has to put Duck to sleep, but that's not a thing any parent should have to go through, so Lee volunteers to do it.
Fuck. Just who, then? You want me to?
You don't have to.
I'll do it.
No, it should be a parent.
No parent should have to do something like this.
Lee's right, Kat. We can say our goodbyes and just let that be it.
I don't know. Lee, you'd be doing this family a great service.
And with that, Kenny and Katja holding Duck walk out into the forest so they're not close to the rest of the people while this goes down. Lee explains to Clementine what's happening right now, and just as he finishes up telling her, there is a gunshot heard, and then Kenny screams no, so Lee runs off to go figure out what just happened.
What the?
No!
Ben, take Clementine into the train. Go. It'll be fine.
So Katja has committed suicide, but Duck is still alive, and even though he isn't there physically, I'm sure he is still feeling this all emotionally. But again, somebody still has to put Duck out of his misery.
Give me the gun, kid. I'll do it.
Lee talks to Clementine about what just happened, but Clementine seems upset about something, so Lee asks her, and Clementine tells Lee that Chuck said what happened to Duck was going to happen to her. So Lee immediately goes and confronts Chuck, but Chuck actually has some pretty good points that Lee needs to think about, so he gives Clementine a haircut and teaches her how to shoot a gun. Lee first teaches Clementine how to shoot a gun.
I did it!
Yeah, you did. Good job.
I just pretended they were walker heads.
Good. Just like you should.
They're not walkers, though.
No, far from it. But you know how these things work now. We'll graduate you to walkers one day.
Okay.
Lee then gives Clementine a haircut, even though she doesn't want it, and she thinks that it looks dumb at first, but it'll protect her, because in the long run, she can't be grabbed by anybody, including walkers, so it'll make her overall safer. Lee and Clementine then make a plan on what they're going to do, because this train is heading towards Savannah, and that's where Clementine's parents were. So Lee has absolutely no problem looking for her parents, but he needs to know a general vicinity and idea of where they would be, because Savannah is a very big city, and he can't just go running around a whole city. He needs some sort of game plan. They end up deciding to go to the Marsh House, a hotel in Savannah, and this is where they're going to look for her parents. But their planning comes to a halt right after this.
See how far.
Oh, shit! Hold on, everybody! Fuck, 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 fuck!
A big-ass oil tanker is hanging off the side of the highway, completely blocking the way for the train. And the train can't just go through it, because if that thing ignites when it hits the ground, it's going to cause a huge explosion. There's two people on top of the bridge next to the hanging oil tanker. Their names are Omid and Krista, and they will become slightly major characters a little later on, but for right now, the group's goal is to dismantle this oil tanker so the train can keep going. And with the help of Omid and a blowtorch, they're able to do just that so that they can continue on their way to Savannah. Everything went well for the most part, except the fact that Omid injured his leg when Lee pushed him off the side of a bridge because he was too chicken to jump off. But I mean, who wouldn't be scared to jump off the side of a bridge? That and the fact that this happens.
Can't wait for you to get to Savannah, Clementine. I got your parents right here. And you be sure to find me, whether Lee wants you to or not. Now, what I need...
Holy shit.
I thought that fucking thing was broken.
So did I. Who the fuck was that? If he's convinced Clementine that he has her parents...
Y'all might want to rethink your plan.
Episode 4 begins with our group walking through the lonely, deserted, desolate streets of Savannah. The plan is to find a boat on the coast and then just ride out to get away from all the walkers. And everything seems to be going fine until a bell goes off.
Maybe this city's not so dead after all.
The group's confused because there's nobody there to ring any bells. What kind of bell goes off 20 past the hour? But then Kenny shuts everybody up by just saying it's an automatic bell and it's gonna keep going off. But then Lee says he saw somebody up on top of it.
Someone's up there!
Are you sure? I don't see anything.
Lee's confident in what he saw, but before he can really get to fully explaining it, Clementine's walkie-talkie goes off.
If I were you, I'd get out of the street now.
Krista's upset because she was under the impression that the walkie-talkie didn't work, and Lee and Kenny only found out about it working not too long ago and they haven't told anybody yet. But they don't have any time to argue because those church bells have now alerted every walker in the city to their position and they need to get out of there and fast. The group gets running, but Kenny trips and Lee has to save him, and Ben and Clementine get surrounded by walkers, and Ben, instead of doing anything, he just runs away and leaves Clementine, you know, the 9-year-old little girl defenseless to fight off all the walkers. But then Chuck, being an absolute Chad, rolls in and saves Clementine and tells the group to leave him behind and he'll catch up later. With Chuck saving the group and distracting the walkers, the group takes this chance to run away and they get in the backyard of a nearby mansion. With everyone in the backyard safe, the group's goal is to now get inside the house. But first, Lee is going to talk to Ben about what the just happened.
About what happened back there on the street.
I know. I don't know what happened. I just froze up. Hasn't that ever happened to you?
Just hear what I'm saying to you. You put that girl in danger again, it won't be walkers you have to worry about.
I hear you.
Ben completely understands what Lee meant by that, and he makes sure it's not going to happen again. The group's goal is to now get into the house. The only problem is all the doors are locked and all the windows are boarded shut, but there is an electronic doggy door. So Lee has to go dig up a dead dog to get its collar so they can open the doggy door and possibly get in. Lee tries the dog collar on the door, and it works. The only problem is there is no way that an adult is fitting into that hole. But Clementine is just small enough that she just scoots right in and unlocks the door from the other side.
Ta-da!
Good job, Clem.
Yeah, way to go.
I did good, right?
Yes, you did. You did good.
With the door open, Omid lays down on the couch because he needs to rest because of his busted up leg, but the rest of the group goes around securing every entryway into the house to make sure that walkers can't get in. Lee gets called upstairs by Ben because Kenny's acting a bit strange, so Lee goes to check it out, and that's when Lee sees the fact that Kenny has found a little boy that looks exactly like Duck.
Kinda looks like Duck, don't he?
It's just a kid.
Right here, Kenny is again faced with the death of his son because this boy looks so similar to him, and Kenny suggests they should bury the boy. So they do that, and it essentially works as a metaphorical burial for Duck because that was not something they were able to do when they had to put Duck down. When Lee gets done burying the kid, he looks up and he sees a stranger looking at him through the bars, and Lee immediately gets aggressive and starts yelling after the guy, but he runs away before Lee could do anything to him. So everybody runs out asking what's wrong, and Lee tells them he saw a man, but then Kenny says that they need to go down to the coast to start looking for a boat. Lee and Kenny get down to the coast, and there are absolutely no boats. The only ones that are there are completely destroyed. This once again completely breaks Kenny, because this was supposed to be the group's way out.
Kenny, man, I don't think so. Maybe we need to come up with a new plan.
This is the plan, Lee. This is our best and only shot. You said so yourself back at the house. You agreed with me.
Yeah, but that was before we...
Kenny is so overwhelmed right now that he's not even willing to listen to what Lee has to say, and he just storms off. While Lee is searching the coast to see if there's any possible boats for use, he ends up seeing the mysterious person from earlier and tries to get the drop on him, but instead he gets his ass kicked.
What the...
Lee gets knocked to the ground by this person, and right as they're about to finish him off, Clementine comes right around the corner in the nick of time, saving Lee.
Please, don't hurt him!
You're not from Crawford.
You're not the guy on the radio.
I'm not a guy at all. Full marks for observation.
This lady's name is Molly, and Kenny doesn't get the message and still tries to attack her, and he pays for it.
No, he's with us! Everyone just calm down.
I'll calm down once she tells me who the fuck she is.
Back off, asshole. The name's Molly.
Molly? I'm Lee. This is Kenny and Clementine. We're not looking for any trouble.
Hi.
It takes some convincing, but Molly eventually believes that Lee, Clementine, and Kenny are not from Crawford, which then eases her worries about them, and she ends up actually telling them about Crawford. And Crawford is a terrible community that is built on very strict rules because it's one of the very first settlements to be built after the world fell. Pretty much the rules are, if you are a child, if you are sick, if you are elderly, or you have anything wrong with you, they're going to kick you out immediately and just pretty much feed you to the walkers at that point, because they need strong people that can always pull their weight, which some people aren't capable of surviving, so they would go to Crawford for help and they'd immediately get denied or rejected. Molly tells the group that their chances of finding a boat is very slim to none, so they might as well just go back to where they came from, and that she's getting out of here because now walkers are pouring out from the street behind them. But she ends up saving Kenny and Clementine after Clementine pleads with her not to leave them here, and Kenny goes to go pick up Lee, but his hand slips and he drops Lee, and Lee has to duck down into the sewers to get away from the walkers. Lee finds a way out of the sewers, but it's blocked by walkers, so he has to turn on some water valves so the noise will distract the walkers so that he can get past, which is exactly what he does. And then once he distracts the walkers and he runs up to what they were eating, he finds somebody that he used to know.
Oh my God. Chuck, he must have tried to hide out down here. Poor bastard. No bullets. He must have saved the last one for himself. You deserve better, old man.
Lee's right. Chuck definitely did deserve better. He died a hero saving a little girl. So, I mean, at least he got a hero's death. Lee ends up making it into what seems like a bomb shelter with a few people inside, which definitely sparks a argument between Lee and the people, but he's able to calm everything down and explain that he's not from Crawford, because that was the people's biggest concern, is that Lee was from Crawford because they were also from Crawford, but they were kicked out because they're old and they're sick. After everything calms down and they're no longer at each other's throat, Lee learns that this old man's name is Vernon, and he asks Vernon if he can bring him back to the mansion that he was at, because Lee doesn't know his way around Savannah too well, and he's not trying to get caught by that horde again. And Vernon reluctantly agrees, but he agrees more after he hears Lee talk about Clementine, and with that, Vernon brings him, and then he actually stays a while and helps the group fix Omid's leg.
This is Vernon. He's a doctor.
Oh, thank God.
Could you take a look at him?
You have to help us. Please.
I'll see what I can do. Take me to him.
With that, Krista takes Vernon to Omid's side so that Vernon can take a look at Omid, and Lee goes off to go find Clementine because she's missing right now. Lee ends up finding Clementine playing outside, but she somehow got in the shed, but what she found in the shed was even better.
Lee!
Hey, girl.
Come look! Look what I found!
Holy shit.
Swear.
The minute Kenny sees the boat, he immediately starts to smile, and he's happier because this was his game plan, was to get a boat the whole time. He takes a look at it and he realizes all it needs is some gas and a new battery, and that's it. That's all it needs, and it's seaworthy. Molly mentions that Crawford would have everything they need for the boat, so that's what the group decides to do. They're going to sneak in, take what they need, and leave. Clementine asks if she can come with Lee, and I say yes because Omid is the only one in the house, and Clementine is a little girl, and we're not sure if Omid is going to survive. That's the other reason why we're going to Crawford, to get antibiotics, and I can't just see the fact that leaving Clementine with Omid, a man who could possibly turn, or if anything happens, he's not going to be able to protect her. So I always have Clementine come with me.
Okay, you can come, but you have to promise to stay quiet and do exactly what you're told the whole time we're there.
Okay, I'm gonna go get ready.
The group sneaks into Crawford through the sewer system, and Lee threatens the very first guard he sees, but Crawford isn't really in the best shape, neither is its guards or civilians.
What the fuck?
Lee took out that walker like an absolute boss, but those 3 gunshots that just rang out then alerted all the walkers in Crawford to their exact location. So the group has to run into a nearby school building and hide quietly so that hopefully the walkers don't catch up to them. The group finds an old classroom that was being used as some sort of a command center. The command center has a map leading to every building that the group would need, with a motor pool that Lee and Molly go to pick up a battery, a maintenance shed that Kenny's going to head to get fuel, and a nurse's station that Krista, Vernon, and Bree are going to get antibiotics for Omid. And like that, everybody has a place to go to and a job that they have to get done, and same goes for Lee and Molly in the auto shop, but theirs doesn't go off so well as the others, as Lee had to cut a hydraulic press line, and it causes one of the cars to just come crashing down, alerting all the walkers outside that, hey, there's people in there now, and now they need to get out before they get overrun. Lee and Molly are able to get out of the auto shop after Lee unhooks the battery thanks to Molly's ice pick that she's always carrying with her. Lee and Molly come back to the school, but Molly stays up on the roof and then runs off with the battery in her backpack pretty much as an insurance that the group won't leave her behind. A little while later, Molly returns after dealing with some business that she doesn't want to talk too in depth about, and she still has the battery with her. Hooray! And then the group goes back to the command center to see how everybody else is holding up. On the way back to the command center, Molly and Lee come across Ben, who just took an axe, and when they asked him where he got it from, he said it was in the door. This dumbass really took an axe that was holding the door shut. So now walkers are flooding into it, so Lee comes darting into the command center telling Kenny that they're coming, and this is when all hell breaks loose.
Kenny, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man. Kid, this ain't the best time. Whatever you did, save it for later.
Ben, shut the fuck up.
Fuck you, Lee. I can't do this anymore. It's been me all along, putting all of us in danger. Katja and Duck, it was all me. It was all me.
Wait a minute. What are you saying?
It was me who made the deal with the bandits at the motor inn, slipping them supplies. I thought maybe I could keep them off our backs. when it got discovered, that's when they attacked. And that's when Duck...
Once Kenny realizes what Ben just said, he absolutely snaps, and he immediately goes to go swing on Ben, so Lee and Vernon have to hold him back. Kenny wants Ben dead for what he did to his family, and then that's when Kenny reveals the problem with the boat.
The boat's not big enough for all of us! Somebody's gotta get left behind! Might as well be this piece of shit right here!
The group then goes on to make a decision on what to do with Ben. Some of them want him to stay, some of them want him to be kicked out, but they can't even come to a full-on decision because walkers burst through the door, they bite Bree, and they start to flood this room so that they'll run through a small room in the back here that leads up to a clock tower. The group fights their way through the bell tower, and just as it seems like everybody's going to make it out just fine, Ben gets grabbed by a walker that's hanging by the bell, and Lee has to make a decision. Does he save Ben and pull him up, or does he let Ben go and drop him?
Climb up! Come on, you can do it!
There's no time! You have to go! Now!
Quit fucking around, Ben! Come on!
Let go, damn it! Get Clem and the others out of here!
Lee.
Lee, we both know. Let me go.
Lee makes his decision to drop Ben, but in a way, Ben kinda died a hero because even though he sacrifices himself, he lets everybody else get out. Once the group gets back, they check in on Omid, and it turns out Omid is perfectly fine, so Krista thanks Vernon for her services, and then afterwards, Vernon asks to speak with Lee in the hall for a minute. So Lee and Vernon go out to the hallway, and Vernon makes Lee an offer. The offer is that he'll take Clementine off of Lee's hands because Vernon doesn't think that Lee is fit to take care of Clementine, even though Lee's been taking care of Clementine doing his absolute best for more than 3 months. So Lee obviously gets defensive with good reasoning and says absolutely not.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say any of this and give you a chance to walk away, which you ought to do right now.
I know you think you're doing what's best for her. And if you were her real father, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But you're not, are you? Just another one of your lies.
That little girl's in my care. We've been through more together than you can imagine. Anyone who tries to get between me and her, anyone, is gonna wind up dead. You hear me?
After the whole ordeal with Vernon in the hallway, Lee goes to go check in on Clementine and make sure that she's okay. And Clementine asks if they'll have a chance to look for her parents tomorrow, and Lee says yes. I really wanted to look for Clementine's parents and see if they were alive, but it was just a lie, and it causes Clementine to cry. Seeing Clementine cry because of something that Lee said absolutely breaks my heart, but Lee knows the best thing right now is to just give her some space. So he sits down and falls asleep on the couch across the room from her, and when he wakes up, Clementine is gone. So Lee goes looking everywhere for Clementine and finds her hat outside and her walkie-talkie out by the trash cans. And once Lee picks up Clementine's walkie-talkie, the unthinkable happens. Lee getting bitten was the biggest surprise of the whole season. Nobody ever saw it coming, and now his time is running short and Clementine's missing, so he shows the group what happened and they're all with him.
Oh my god.
No way.
No fucking way.
There's no time to worry about me. Clementine's gone.
There's no chance she just wandered off on her own?
No way.
Then who the hell took her?
I don't know. Last night Vernon came to me and offered to take her with him. Said she'd be better off.
Son of a bitch. I knew we couldn't trust that fucker.
Wherever she is, I have to find her.
Okay, what do you need from us?
Clem may not have much time. We have a better chance of finding her if we all go together. Who's with me?
We're all responsible for Clementine, and in your condition, you may not make it to her in time. She needs our help. All of our help.
Damn right. We can't let you do this alone.
So that's settled then. We'll look for Clementine together.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. Really.
You've always been there for me, Lee. Always had my back when it mattered. What kind of friend would I be if I wasn't there for you now? Bitten or not, I'm with you to the end. You can count on me.
And with that, the group heads off to Vernon's place because Vernon is the top suspect right now because he wanted to take Clementine and Lee told him off. When the group arrives at Vernon's place, it's completely abandoned and nobody's there. But then, Clementine's walkie-talkie goes off, and it's Clementine talking. So Lee immediately thinks it's Vernon, but then he's met with another shock.
Clementine, are you all right? Where are you? Vernon, you son of a bitch!
Hello, Lee?
Who is this?
It's not Vernon, if that's what you're thinking. And you should really watch your tone. Clementine's fine, but if I were you, I'd choose my next words very carefully.
You're fucking dead! I don't know who you are, but I will kill you! Do you understand?
I know you will. She knows you will. Say goodbye.
With the conversation on the radio ending, the group now needs to get out of Vernon's shelter because it's about to be raided by walkers, so Lee goes to go open up the elevator doors, and just as he turns around, he passes out. When Lee comes to, the first thing he sees is the group getting ready to cut off his arm to try to save him or at least buy him some time, but Lee decides to keep his arm.
No. We leave it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I feel like I got time. Just keep an eye on me. I get my hands on the bastard who's got Clem. I'd be happy to have them both.
And Lee's got some pretty sound reasoning as to why he wants to keep his arm. The group makes it to the top of the hospital, and they have to lure all the walkers down at the street over to one side of the hospital so that they can escape by running down the fire escape to the other side. So what they do is they grab a ladder, and Lee crosses the ladder and rings a giant bell on the other side, luring all the walkers over there, while the group runs off the other side and gets back to the mansion. Lee has a small problem though. Once he gets over to the bell tower, the ladder that he was going to use to get back falls, and he has to jump across the gap to get back over to the hospital roof with everybody else.
You got this. You got this, motherfucker.
Good goddamn leap, pal. Let's get the hell off this roof!
The group arrives back at the mansion only to find out that the boat's gone and Vernon totally took it. The horde from the hospital has made its way all the way back to the mansion, so now the group has to barricade the house the best they can and get ready to fight a horde. Despite the group's best efforts, the walkers win, they break in, Bree makes a quick appearance, and the group is forced to run upstairs and have a shootout. The only problem with the whole shootout idea is that the group's ammunition count is quite low, and there is a lot more zombies than they have bullets, so they're forced to run upstairs into the attic where they are then trapped.
I'm out!
Me too! Fuck! Where do we go? No goddamn opening!
Up!
Go!
The group is currently stuck up in the attic right now because they don't have a way to get back downstairs, because if they go back down, they're going to get ripped to shreds. So what ends up happening is Lee ends up passing out, and his walkie-talkie goes off, and it's Clementine on the other end telling him that she's at the Marsh house.
I'm okay. I'm where my parents. No.
With Clementine saying that she is at the hotel where her parents are, that means the Marsh House. The group essentially then sets the Marsh House as their destination. That's where they're going no matter what happens. But Kenny pretty much says that if Lee passes out again or if he turns, he's gonna kill him, which is a terrible thing for Kenny to say to Lee, but at the same time it kind of makes sense because they all want what's just best for Clementine, and if Lee turns, they're not going to be able to do that if he's walking around as a zombie trying to bite them all. So it ends up instigating a fight between the two of them, where one of them will pick up a stone head and they'll huck it at the wall, then showing how corroded and breakable the wall is, where they then take turns with a coat rack just smashing in the wall until they have a hole where they can escape from. Omid is able to break through the wall of the attic, which then bumped into the main bedroom of the next house over, which they then pass through that, and then they are now on top of another building that they are just passing through to see how far they can get to the Marsh House, and that's when Kenny accidentally knocks the radio into a hole, where Krista then jumps down in this hole to get the radio, but then she's stuck down there, so Kenny jumps down to then sacrifice himself, so Krista is able to escape, and this is the last that is heard of Kenny in season 1.
I got you, hun.
Save her!
Go!
Do you fucking hear me?
Get Kenny! You gotta run, man! Go! We'll find a way to get you!
With Kenny now gone, Lee asks Omid and Krista to look after Clementine. He knows his times are running short, but he's going to try his best to get Clementine to them on the outskirts of town. So they have to cross this rickety sign, and this is where it ends up snapping when Lee's halfway across. So he just has to make his way down, and he makes his way to Clementine himself. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy the awesomeness of this scene. Oh hell yeah, you cannot tell me that was one of the most badass scenes of this entire game, seeing this man fight like hell to save Clementine. And Lee finally meets the bastard that took Clementine, but here's the thing, he's not some monster or a weirdo, he's just another dad. He is the father of the family that the group stole the supplies from the station wagon at the end of episode 2.
There might have been a station wagon in the forest, full of all sorts of food, water, things you need to survive. Yeah, I'm not some cannibal, Lee. Some killer out in the woods. Some villain. I'm just a dad. I coach Little League.
The only thing wrong with this dude is the fact that he keeps his wife's head in a bowling ball bag, which I'll admit, that's pretty out there, that's pretty weird. But other than that, he's a sane guy and he's not like a cannibal or a murderer or something. Lee pleads with the man to just give him Clementine back and then he'll go, but this guy is unwilling.
I'd rather kill her myself, because that's what will happen if she goes with you.
Alright, nope, that's the last straw. He ends up talking to his dead wife in the bowling ball bag, and then Clementine comes out and whacks him over the head, and Lee kills him because Lee said that anybody that tries to get in the way between him and her is gonna wind up dead, and he meant it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Lee and Clementine go to leave the marsh house and get out of Savannah as fast as possible, but when Lee opens the door, there's a walker standing right there, and it doesn't attack him. And a lot of people on their very first playthrough thought it was because Lee was so close to turning that the zombie just didn't really sense him. But if you know stuff about the Walking Dead walkers, it's that they rely on their sense of smell. And the fact that Lee just went and carved his way through, like, 40 zombies in the street, it's all of those guts and blood that he has on him that makes the zombie not recognize him. So Lee gets the idea to then cover Clementine in the zombie blood and guts so they can walk their way through the remaining zombies that are in the street to try to get out. Clementine obviously hates it and finds it gross because she's, being covered in rotting guts, but Lee gives her something that kind of makes her happy again, and that's her hat.
And you're missing something.
I thought it was gone.
I thought you were gone.
Thank you.
Stay right next to me. And walk very slowly. Don't look around. And don't panic.
And with that, they leave the marsh house. The streets are absolutely filled to the brim with walkers. The amount of them is impossible to count, but there are two that stick out to Clementine. Lee tries to tell Clementine not to look, but before he can say anything, he passes out. Oh man, this is where the tears begin. So when Lee comes to, he is in a jewelry store with Clementine. Clementine managed to drag him and herself through the horde of walkers into this jewelry store because the shutter door was only open a little bit. But she managed to get him and herself inside and then close the door behind them so they don't get attacked. But Lee knows he doesn't have more than a few minutes left at this point. So he tries to get Clementine to open the door so that they can get out, but she can't do it, and Lee's strength is gone at this point. So he knows he's stuck in here with her. They see another exit because that is their last chance of them getting out, but Lee ends up collapsing halfway through and he knows that he's not moving from this spot anymore. Lee tries his hardest to get back up, but he just can't do it.
I can't.
You have to!
Damn, I can't move. This is it for me here.
Please, please, try to get up!
Despite his multiple attempts, he keeps trying to get up and he can't, so he knows with his final moments he has to teach Clementine how to survive and how to kill walkers because he's not going to be there anymore. Lee tells Clementine to grab the handcuffs and handcuff him to the radiator, so if anything happens to him, she'll remain safe. He then tells her that if she's careful, she'll be able to get everything she needs off the officer, and to always go for the gun first.
Keys in the gun. Just don't be afraid. If anything gets dangerous, you're faster than he is.
What should I get first?
Get the gun, Clem. Always the gun.
Right as Clementine gets ready to grab the gun, the walker jumps out of the chair and lunges towards her, but she's able to get away, and Lee kicks a baseball bat towards her, and she kills her very first walker.
I did it. I got him.
Great, Clem. Good job.
Lee tells Clementine that she's strong, she's gonna survive, and she's gonna beat this world, and then he asks her something.
There's only one thing you can do. You know that.
I don't know if I can.
have to shoot me, honey.
Lee, no.
It's okay. It's okay. Clem, I was standing over Duck holding that gun. It was so hard. I'm sorry you're in that position now. I'd give anything for you not to be. But you just have to point it at me. Close your eyes and be thankful you never have to see me as one of them. You can do it. I know you can.
Okay, Lee. I can do it. I can.
Lee tells Clementine to find Omid and Krista and they'll take good care of her, and he goes to tell her one last thing, but he isn't able to say it.
And also,
What is it?
no, don't worry. All right. I'll miss you.
Me too.
And that is the end of Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1. Clementine is by herself now, and she is searching for Krista and Omid. As for my final thoughts on the game, I absolutely love this game. Lee and Clementine are my two favorite video game characters of all time. The first season of this game is my absolute favorite #1 game of all time, along with my favorite story in gaming. I just love it so much. And if you're still watching to this point, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. This video took me an ungodly long time to make, and I just want to say thank you for sticking in this far. If there's any problems with the video, I am very sorry, as this is my very first time making a video of this caliber. I've never done something this big before, so I really tried to give it my all. If I continue to make videos like this that are this long or this big on certain games or whatever, I will definitely try to make them better and fix any mistakes in this one. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.